Hi, my name is DiFranco. I worked on this project alone and I made the mini taxi. The summary for this is I found real life measurements of a taxi, scaled them down, put those measurements on graph paper, found the slope, area, side length, and then I assembled the taxi. I then found the surface area, but I encountered a problem, so I had to split the taxi and found the surface area for a trapezoid and rectangle. I then found volume, and then I used math to find out how much paint I would need. The first steps for my taxi was to find real life measurements. I looked on Google and I found the length to be 160 inches, the height and width to be 60 inches, and the wheelbase, which is the distance between the wheels, to be 100 inches. I then used the scaling formula, what you have over what you desire. So for length, my scaling formula or factor was 160 over 16, 60 over 6 for width, 60 over 6 for height, and 100 over 10 for wheelbase. Then I had 16 inches for length, 6 inches for width and height, and 10 inches for wheelbase. To then map out kind of what I wanted to do for my taxi, right there, I used graph paper. I counted one square as 1 inch and mapped out 6 inches in height, 16 inches in length, and 10 inches in wheelbase. Excuse me. I obviously couldn't use width because it's 2D. Okay. And then because taxis have a front and back window, I put in angles. I then found the slope of them. The first window was 3 over 5. The back window was 3 over 4. I then found the side length of these using the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. I got for the front window square root of 100 and for the back window square root of 44. I also found the total area of the rectangle to be 96, but because I implemented the angles, I subtracted the angles to get 75.5. Assembly. I then cut out the side pieces of my taxi out of cardboard. I used the measurements that I found here and cut it out. I then also used the measurements here to cut out the width pieces. I then hot glued these together, and I also hot glued the wheels on using old vitamin water. Bottle caps. The first problem I encountered was when I first calculated surface area. I got 324 inches, 16 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 6 times 16. But this was inaccurate to my taxi because of the angles. So instead what I decided to do was split the taxi in half. The top would be a trapezoid, the bottom would be a rectangle. So the equation for a trapezoid is b1 plus b2 over 2 times height. I found the measurements of the trapezoid using the graph paper I made originally. So, and then I plugged this in. So it was 11 plus 7 over 2 times 3, which I got 27 inches. But because this equation formula for height, it only accounts for the straight up height. It doesn't account for the slant. So I had to use trigonometry, specifically truth height, to find the slant and then multiply it by the answer of the surface area to make it accurate. I found the angle slant to be 56. Oh, I first found the slant was at, which was 56.31 by finding the slope to be 2 over 3, and then doing tan minus 1 times 3 over 2 to get 56.31 degrees. Then I plugged this into the equation, which was 3 over cos 56.31 degrees, and got 5.41. Basically, in summary, I found the angle, plugged it into the truth height equation, which is height over cos times angle. Once I got that answer, I multiplied it by the answer for the surface area of the trapezoid. Then to find the surface area of the rectangle, I used the equation width times height, and then I found it to be 96. Okay, and then I have to move my taxis so you can see. I then calculated volume using the equation length times width times height. So that was 16 times 6 times 6. And my answer, I got 14,022.72 for volume. Then for paint, quickly looking at the equations before, a lot of these equations are just reiterating what I've already done. Like I used trapezoid area, rectangle, and total surface area, which was adding the trapezoid and the rectangle area together. Anyways, for paint, I calculated how much I needed. For the trapezoid shape, I calculated that I needed approximately 0.034 quarts, about 1.1 fluid ounces, or 0.084 gallons of paint for my mini taxi. I found this by adding the surface area of a trapezoid and rectangle, converting to square feet, multiplying by 2 coats, and dividing by the coverage per quart and gallon. I used the same steps for the rectangle. There really was not much difference. And then again, the equations I used the conversion of square feet to square inches. And then I made equations, total coverage, paint needed in quart. And then I was able to paint my taxi, and that went well. What went well, I feel this project actually went really well for me. Some difficulties I encountered was just planning it out. First, also finding the measurements and making sure they made sense. Another thing was surface area, obviously. And that was really it. The most difficult part of this was just the assembly. Cutting cardboard with scissors is really hard, and I kept running out of hot glue. But that was really it. I really enjoyed this project. It was really fun, and I feel I learned a lot. I didn't really understand a lot about scaling, and I feel this also helped me, especially because we were in a unit in geometry, and it just really helped. And here's just a close-up of my taxi. The headlights, and these are the angles that I used, and here's the inside. But yeah. Thank you so much. Bye.